Hi everybody, welcome to Codeverse, the coding universe. So yeah, this is the Python programming course, lecture number 4, and from this lecture we are actually gonna start programming actually, okay, right? So we're gonna see language specific things like things which are only specific to Python language and so on. In the last few sessions we have seen some general things, that how programming works, we have seen that. So the things which we have seen are installation and setup, and I hope that PyCharm and Jupyter Notebook, these two things are working on your machine. If not, again you have last one day, from day after tomorrow, which is 4th of July. From 4th of July we will be doing live coding as well. Okay, this is the last theory session. After this session, all the sessions will have a coding component as well. So it will be better if you code right with me. Okay, I'll give you sufficient amount of time in this lecture series, right? You can code, you can actually code with me. That is what I want. So it is like a classroom, it is like a laboratory for you, right? So take it as a lab in your college. We'll learn a concept, we'll code it, and I like you to code it with me on your Jupyter Notebook or PyCharm. Okay, so these two things, please do the setup of these two things quickly. And Vamshi, firstly, good evening everybody. Good evening Manisha, good evening Vamshi, good evening Aspirant, Deepak, Saurabh. Most of you are saying that take classes daily. So for that, what will happen is the duration of classes will increase slightly. So instead of 1 hour lecture, let's say we will have 2 45-minute lectures. So I'll take this Python programming course on alternate days only, every alternate day. But every alternate day we will have like 1.5 hour of session, right? So that we can learn more and we can finish Python soon. So let's say we will have like 2 45-minute sessions or 3 half-an-hour sessions every alternate day. Instead of taking just one hour session, we'll have a 5-minute break, and we'll have a couple of 45-minute sessions. I'll tell you where to get the slides. Okay, for slides just wait. Manisha, is it fine? I cannot promise 2 hours, but let's say 1.5 to 2 hours or every alternate day, so that you have ample amount of content. I understand your problem that we are going slow in this way. So yeah, we'll have more content now. And same thing will happen for the data structures course as well. So I'll on the remaining alternate days, I'll come up with some new course. I'm not sure about the course name right now, but I'll take 2 courses for competitive programming for programming this month. One being Python programming course and one mostly being data structures course. So I was already taking the data structures course. I'll continue that. Most of you are from the from data structures course, I can see in the comments, right? So we'll start with the data structures stack. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Alternate day, one day stack lecture, another day Python lecture, then stack lecture, Python lecture, and so on, and each being like a couple of 45-minute lectures. Fine. Okay, and timing will remain same, 9 p.m. So let's say 9 to 10:30 or something like that. Okay, I'll let you know. If any changes are there, I'll let you know. And I am setting up the Google Calendar for you guys, so that you have everything in one place. Okay, so you can just set up that particular Google Calendar with your calendar. You can link it with your calendar and you'll get notification for the lectures, so that if there is any timing change, you know about that. I'm setting it up right now. In next lecture, in lecture number 5, you'll have everything. You will have the calendar ready and the sheet also ready. Okay, because we are about to start programming from lecture number 5. So I'll set up IDE on my machine as well, and just make sure that you at least have the Jupyter Notebook ready. Okay, even if you don't have PyCharm ready, it is fine. Just make sure that you have Jupyter Notebook ready, because for Python programming, Jupyter Notebook is best for beginners. What will happen is, in Jupyter Notebook you can write a very small piece of program and run it then and there. So it will be really good if you have Jupyter Notebook ready. till in next class. So live coding we will start in Jupyter Notebook. Sai Shravani, on Java course the team is working. Very soon you will have the Java course as well. Okay, so I mean yeah, team is working on that, and probably you will have a Java course this month or so. So Manisha is saying Google Colab, whatever I am writing on Jupyter Notebook will work on Google Colab as well. So if you don't want to install anything, you can just write the same piece of code on Google Colab. Okay, Google Colab works the same way as a Jupyter Notebook for now. We don't want to use GPUs on Google Colab. The same piece of code will work on Google Colab. So you can have, you can run it on online ID as well if you have good internet connection, right? Yeah. So you can watch lectures, and in another tab you can have Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab, and you can code it there, right with me. Any other doubt? Data structure, I'm continuing. Python, I am continuing. Java, team is working on it, and you can work on Google Colab, right? We will do some standard DSA questions in Python. Okay, so once we learn, a little bit of Python, like the basics of Python, all the data types it contain, like tuples, list, dictionary. Okay, Python is a beautiful language, trust me. Okay, and it is really, really powerful in the sense that I shared this in every lecture that in 10-20 lines of a code in C++ language can be written in just 2 or 3 lines in Python programming language, right? So yeah. Yashwant, that is IDE, and IDE we will use PyCharm and Jupyter as I told you, and Jupyter Notebook we will be using more often. Stack course link I'll share. Okay, so that will be a launch for you guys, and I'll let you know about the stack course. Okay, just hold on. Very soon, in 1 or 2 days we'll be starting stack course as well. The data we'll be continuing the data structure course as well. Machine learning, Vaishnavi will do later. Firstly, let's finish Python programming, because in machine learning, if you don't know Python, you'll not be able to code anything. The minimal things required, the minimal prerequisite required to start machine learning and code programs and to write deep neural networks will be Python programming. And after we do Python, we will start machine learning. Okay, immediately after ending Python, I will do a course on machine learning and AI. Okay, so yeah. You don't require Tinker and other libraries right now. They are not really required right now. Okay, trust me. As and when any library is required, Karthik, I'll let you know. Okay, and you can download it. And yeah, Spider will work. You can work on any ID as long as it is working. Okay, I'm not forcing you to work on any particular ID. But if you have Jupyter Notebook set up, then it is fine. That is more preferred. Cool. So let's move forward. This is the link to the sheet. I guess it is present in the description. So just go on the description of this video. In the third line, you have this link. This link contains sheets for everything. Okay. So for all my courses, data structure course, C++ course, and Python course. C++ course is finished. You can see the links over there. And data structures course is currently going on. The link list is finished, and Stack we are starting really soon. And Python I'll be creating very soon. So the first section of the sheet will be like this, containing all the important links. Okay, so I'm just showing you how to interpret it. What you will do is, you just click on this link. So you go on this website, the link is present in the description of the video, third line, sites.google.com, right? You go on this link right now, and you click on this first link, okay, and automatically your Google Calendar will open, and it will ask you that do you want to open this, do you want to attach this particular Google Calendar to your calendar, right? And you say okay. So you will have all the sessions, sessions I take there, right? So somebody can acknowledge right now if you're doing this. It is just 1 second step, right? Just go on the link and click on it. Just acknowledge in the chat box if everything is working. So this is the Google Calendar for interview and CP, and this will be the Google Calendar for Python programming course. So for this course, for Python programming course, you click on this link and attach this calendar to you, okay? For data structures course, you should attach this calendar, okay? So you have 2 separate calendars. If you don't want to follow data structures, then it is fine, okay? Just attach the Python programming course. Cool. So this is it, and this is the entire Python playlist. Okay, this is the entire Python playlist where we are having these lectures. For C++ slides, these are the links to download C++ slides. For data structures in Python, I'll announce it later. You will have it on Unacademy app. Don't worry about it. Okay. I mean, when this this thing ends, when Python ends, I'll share the slides with you. Okay, great. So this is that. And if you are watching me for the first time, I'm Jay Mansell. I'm software engineer at Google, and yeah, these are some of my credentials. I have a master's degree from IIT Bombay and bachelor's degree from MBM Engineering College Jodhpur with a gold medal in my BTech and a CPI of 9.9 in my MTech. Okay, and if you want to take any Unacademy subscription, you can use my promotional code JAYCP and you'll get 10% off. So these are the new batches, and these are the batches which is started on 29 backend development, computer fundamentals, and full stack development. This you have, and more career readiness batches are coming up, right? And if you take just one subscription for competitive programming, you'll have access to, unlimited access to all the batches, right? So for competitive programming, for interview preparation, and for your career. Cool. So what you get India's best programmers, you get live interactive classes, you get doubt support, you get everything, right? So if you take the subscription, what will happen? Let's say many 7-star programmers and people working in top database companies are teaching there on plus classes of Unacademy, and you can interact in live classes. I mean, you can speak your doubts. Okay, so this is the new feature in the Unacademy app, right? And you get the doubt support. You can contact them and they'll resolve your doubts. And you get a plenty of practice problems on platforms like CodeChef, Codeforces solved with you. Cool. Again, this is the price. For all the like subscriptions, and it will come down by 10% if you use the promotional code JAYCP. Okay. Cool. Okay, Kailash is watching me first time, right? Aviral, your PC is not compatible with the latest version of PyCharm. I mean this should not be the case. So you can download some previous version as well. You'll find the answers to these queries on Stack Overflow, right? If you want to download some previous versions, you can get the command line. Command for that. So you can just run that command on your command prompt, and some previous version will download. Just try to search it. Right, how to download a previous version of PyCharm, and this should not happen. I don't know why. Even my laptop is like 5-6 years old, and I just downloaded the latest version of PyCharm in it. Cool. So let's start with. So I'm warning you. This lecture you might find a little bit boring, but if you want to, learn everything in the language, you have to, fight with the boring things also, right, in the path. I'll try to make it interesting, but this lecture will be theoretical only. You'll learn about all the data types which exist in Python programming language, like numeric. And this is interesting in the sense that it is really different from C and C++. So if you already know C and C++ and Java, in Java, C++, almost all the data types are same, right? You have some primitive data types, and then you go to non-primitive data types like arrays, linked lists, and so on, right? You create homogeneous type of data, and you create create heterogeneous type of data. You collect them together and call it structure, class, and so on. Some of the things are same in Python as well, but mostly in Python data types work a whole differently. Okay, in Python, data types works a whole differently. Even variables work differently, very differently from C, C++, and Java. Okay, so in this lecture we're going to see these things. Let's start. So data type. What is a data type? You will have some data. You'll have some data. In every programming language, you handle data. So for example, what will happen? You will have some values, right? You'll play with numbers. In competitive programming, you play with numbers. So you want to handle data, you want to handle large data. That is the target of Python programming language, right? You want to go into data science, machine learning, you will have large amount of data. What is data, right? Data can belong to one or other classes, and these classes are called data types. Data cannot be anything gibberish, right? If you want to handle data, data should follow some rules. You cannot say that data is like anything, right? Data can be like integral data, like numbers. It could be strings, and there is no foundation on it. It could be strings. It could be a Boolean value like true or false, right? It could be like a large collection of other type of data. For example, a data can be a sequence of 10 integers. This is also data. The only thing which I'm trying to say here is data should follow some rules, right? And we are not constrained that we can, even we can have heterogeneous type of data. Let's say this is also data. A character a string J, and then the number 36, and then a list containing a string ABC, and then an integer, a floating point number 22.5, and this is an entire collection. Like, what I did, I grouped a character, a string, an integer, and another group together, and I am saying that for me this group is data. This is fine. This is fine. This is allowed in Python, right? And this is actually allowed in other programming languages as well, in C++ or in C++ and Java. But there you have to create classes or structure for this, right? If you remember C++ programming language, can somebody write in the chat box? Do you remember that if you want to club heterogeneous type of data together, different types of data, a character, a string, an integer together, and club them, you have to use a structure, something called as structure. Arrays won't work. Arrays are homogeneous type of data. Do you remember this thing from C language, from C++ language, sorry? Anshuman, very soon you will have the news of continuing C++ DSA course. Just wait for one day, okay? Yeah, data means information, correct? And in C++ we have structure, but in Python we don't have to create structure. In Python this is allowed. Actually, Python is really beautiful. You can have a list. This is called a list in Python, right? In Python you will have a list containing a character, then a string, then again an integer, then another list containing a string and an integer. You can directly declare a variable like this, that this variable A is containing this data, any type of data, like really dirty data. A variable can contain an image, a 3D image, 4D image, and image also does not need to contain all integers, right? It can have various types of data, and Python can handle data really well. Okay, so it will be really easy. You don't have to create any class or structure in Python. Like the usage of class will be even low, because all these functionalities you can accomplish without even creating a structure or a class, right? This is allowed. You can have a tuple, a list of different types of data. Okay, so yeah, this is how, like, broadly speaking, this is how an array works. You can have an heterogeneous array. It is not called an array, it is called a list in Python. Okay, it is called a list in Python. So this is the beauty of Python. Let's continue. So different categories of data types in Python are numeric data, sequence type data. This is a sequence, right? This is a sequence. Sequence means contiguous, memory allocated to some particular variable, right? What is a variable? I'll come to it, but I already know that most of you know about this thing. Data can be numeric, it can be sequence type, it can be Boolean, like true or false. Boolean data, like Boolean data will be something like it can only take two values, 0 or 1, right? It cannot take any other value. So you can constrain the data as well. It is in your hands. You are the programmer, right? You are the programmer. You can handle things. So you can constrain the data to be among this particular limit, right? So you have the control over the entire programming language, trust me. So data can be Boolean type. Boolean means true or false. You can have set, you can have dictionary. Dictionary is beautiful, okay? So what we implemented in C++ using maps, you don't have to use STL. In Python this will also be a very good thing. We won't require STL type of things. For most of the work you won't require many libraries. You'll be able to handle many things without even using libraries, because the data the basic primitive data types are contain everything. In Python you have map as a data type. You don't have to use it from standard template library like in C++. Right? Image can be data, right? So I told you, image can be data, like image can be a list of list, right? So most of you, I think you know this thing that image is nothing like the image which you see, right? The image which you are seeing right now on your screen, my image in 30 or 35% of screen, and then this slide with the Unacademy logo and everything on 65% of the screen. This image, I already told you in one of the previous lectures, right, that computer only understands binary language. I told you explicitly in Hindi language also, like वो केवल 0-1 की भाषा समझता है, right? What you perceive in your eyes is an image, but for computer it is just a collection of binary numbers. So what happens is an image is composed of pixels, and each pixel has a color, right? At one particular level, you can zoom an image, but there will be a limit, right, of zooming, and that this limit is called resolution, right? This we will learn in machine learning course. Okay, just think about it, how interesting it will be. We will learn about these things about images in machine learning course. There I'll tell you, image is nothing but numbers. Okay, a 2D array of numbers. Every colors are also quantized. Okay, so ideally speaking, if you say that this is some red and this is some other red, there should be a red between these two reds, right? You can talk to girls about this, I guess. Right? There can be 100 types of reds, and between any two reds there can be again 100 types of reds, just like real number line. Think about it. There is no limit, right? If you just say that the redness is a property, extreme redness is one thing, and no redness is one thing, and you can have infinite number of red colors between them. But generally we don't have this thing. In computer science, this thing is quantized. You can have only 255 types of reds, let's say. Okay, I'm going off topic a little bit, but just give me 5 minutes. Let's say we quantize this thing, right? We don't have like an infinite number of colors. We can quantize this thing that we will not have infinite number of colors. Red color can only be like one among 0 to 255. 256 types of red we have. 255 being extreme red and 0 being no red, right? And same thing happens with green and blue as well. Same thing happens with, let's say, green and blue as well. So you quantize the colors now. The maximum number of colors possible right now is 256 into 256 into 256. Because the redness of any pixel, the redness of any pixel can lie between 0 to 255. Integral value, okay? It cannot be 1.3. Integral value. Greenness can also lie between 0 to 255. Blueness can also lie between 0 to 255. And you just mix these three colors in different combinations and you'll get all colors of world. Right? I hope you know this thing already. This is called RGB code. And similarly you have like magenta, cyan, and various more such combinations as well. RGB is one among them. So now every image is what? A 2D array of pixels. Every pixel is what? Has some color, and you have to represent this color using its redness, blueness and greenness. Now you came to integers, right? So how can you represent an image now? A 2D array containing all triplets of RGB value. So let's say this is an image. Let's say this is a 2 cross 2 image. 100, 100, 100, 200, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 0, and then 255, 255, 255. This is just a 2 cross 2 pixel image, okay? You cannot, this is really small image. Generally, the image which you are seeing right now is 1080 cross 720 pixels, right? Very large. It contains various amounts of numbers, but let's say this is a very small image. What it contains 4 pixels with different color. This is like a grayish color, gray color. This is like not dark gray, light gray color. This is, I mean, very red color because its blueness and greenness is 0, but redness is like close to maximum 255, right? This is like a bright red color. This is 000 means black. You don't have any color in it, extreme black. And this is white color, okay? Everything is at its max. This is how an image can be represented now. So what is an image? Think about it. A list of tuples. Okay, I'll come to this. If you don't understand this list and this tuple, this can be handled in Python, right? You don't have to create any structure now, right? In primitive data types only, think about it. In primitive data type, Python can handle these type of things just using its primitive data types. And if you don't understand anything of it, I mean, just wait for 5-10 minutes, okay? It will be clear. I hope this is clear for many guys right here. So that is why Python is powerful. It can handle images very efficiently, right? Its data type, I mean, the set of data types it has, I mean, is very rich. Okay, was this, I mean, did this thing make sense? Whatever I told you about images, somebody asked this question, that's why I went off topic and told you this thing. Cool. So let's move forward. Firstly is very basic data types, numeric data types, in which data can be one number. I am saying that 23 is my data, 45 is my data, one integer, or minus 73.27 is my data, right? I mean, not a collection of various data, not a collection of numbers, it is just one number, and this is called numeric data type, right? It can be an integer, it can be a floating point value. A floating point means decimal point value, right? It can be anything, but this is called numeric type. You have one value, and it is like of any type, like an integer or a data type or a character, but one value, okay? And it is represented using integer class. For now, forget about class. When we see class as an object, when we see object-oriented programming in Python, I'll clarify this thing, that how data types are actually implemented. They are actually implemented using classes and objects, right? So I'll tell you this thing, right? That what do I mean by this integer class? For now, forget about this. Just let's say that a data which is a numeric type can be of can have one value. It can be an integer. It can be floating point. So this is the other numeric data type, which is float, and you can write statement like this: a is equal to 15.75. Here a becomes a variable, and in the last slide I'll clarify this thing, that what is a variable, right? But for now I hope you are understanding this thing, right? In C also you are writing this thing, that you are creating a space which has the name a. You are creating a space. You are creating a space in memory. You are reserving a space in memory. Okay, creating is not right word, right? Memory is fixed. When you buy a laptop, memory is fixed. Let's say 1 TB memory, right? You are reserving memory for some you're reserving memory for some variable, right? Its name is a, and you are putting the value 15.75 there. This is what this statement means. Similarly, b is equal to 2e minus 4. E means 10 to the power. You don't have to write 10 to the power. You can just write e. So 2e minus 4 will mean 2 times 10 to the power minus 4, which means 0.0002, right? So these are numeric data types, right? The data is like one value. It can be integer or float. Then the second type of data type is, the second class of data type is sequence. As the name suggests, what will be a sequence? A collection of data, right? It is a collection of data. So how will you accumulate different type of data together? Now you want to accumulate different type of numeric values, right? So what will happen? Sequence means a collection of data types, a collection of smaller data types. For example, a collection of 3 integers, 2, 3, 4. Now how are you making this collection is different thing. There are various types, ways to make this collection. For example, in C++ language, I am always giving the example of C++. In C++, how do you make collections? Using array, using vector, using list, using linked list, using structure, using class. These are all the ways to create different collections, right, of same type of data or different type of data, right? And in Python also we call them sequence, and they are primitive data types here. Okay, we have sequences, different type of sequences. So think about it. A string is also a sequence. It is a sequence of characters, right? Do you agree? A string is a sequence of characters. This is a string, right? More than one character constitute a string. This is called a string, and a string is also a sequence. It is a sequence of characters. A list. Now you don't have array here. You have list here. Okay, it is called list. List is a sequence, and a list can be a sequence of heterogeneous type of data. A string is homogeneous. Do you understand the meaning of homogeneous and heterogeneous here? Does everybody understand the meaning of homogeneous and heterogeneous here? Homogeneous mean same type of data, right? So a string is a collection of characters. Characters is one particular data, right? So string is a collection of characters. List is a collection of any type of data. It can be a collection of what is the meaning of ordered? I'll come to it. Okay, very good question, Nandini. I'll tell you what is the meaning of ordered here. What is the meaning of ordered here, right? I'll tell you the meaning of ordered. Just wait for a minute. What is list? List is also a sequence, but it can be a sequence of heterogeneous type of data. And this, by heterogeneous I mean the data which is contained in a list can actually be of any type. So a list can contain another list as well. This is how you define a list using square brackets. A list can contain another list. This is one first data of this list. The second data can be another sequence. It can be a string. String is a sequence, right, Jay? Right. First sequence, first data is itself a sequence. Second data is also a sequence. Third data, let's say, is not a sequence. It is a numeric data type. Let's say minus 13.2, and this is your list, and this is allowed in Python. You can actually have a data like this, and same thing happens with tuple as well. Tuple is also somewhat like list. It is also a collection of heterogeneous type of data, but you define it using round brackets. And very soon I am going to tell you the difference between a tuple and a list. Right? You can argue that actually they are same, right? If they are performing the same thing, it is also heterogeneous type of data. It is also heterogeneous type of data. Then actually why? Then what is the difference do we have? Like, right? So we have a difference, and the difference is called mutability, and I'll come to this term. So we are having some terms coming up with us right now: mutability and order. So let's first discuss about order. Any ordered collection, and any ordered collection mean, yeah, brackets differ, that's great, but yeah, why would we do that? I mean, cool. So what is an ordered collection? Any ordered collection is a collection in which order matters. In which order matters. Okay, I explained this thing beautifully in my discrete maths course. Set, when we speak generally, are not ordered. I don't know if you know about set or not. Since you cleared, even if you're not cleared JEE exam, you have studied in your 11th, 12th, right? You have a chapter on sets, relation, and function. This is a set, right, containing two elements 1 and 2. And this set containing elements 1 and 2 is actually equivalent to the set containing elements 2 and 1. Do you agree? By definition of sets in mathematics, by default, a set is an unordered collection of data. We say this thing. Do you remember this thing? Yeah, Yashwant, in tuple we cannot change the value, and that is what is called mutability, right? Right? So the set containing elements 1 and 2 is same as the set containing element 2 and 1. They are called equal sets, correct Manisha, right? And that is what makes set unordered. Now I hope this makes sense. Unordered means order of elements doesn't matter. But list and tuples are ordered. They are not unordered. They are ordered. And what does it mean? That this list 1 2 will be different from this list 2 1. Definitely. Same thing happens with tuple. The tuple 1 2 will be different from the tuple 2 1. Okay, this is called ordered, this is called unordered. I hope this is clear, right? So here sequences are ordered collection of similar or different data types. If we have similar, it is called homogeneous. If we have different, it is called heterogeneous. And example of homogeneous sequence is string. Example of heterogeneous sequence is tuple and list. Okay. Great. So firstly, string. How do you write strings in Python? You write it in double quotes, just like in C++. But in Python, you can actually write them in single quote as well. So in Python, you don't have character explicitly. Okay, I told you that you can have a character, but in Python, you don't have like character like this. It is not a data type. It is considered a string only. So in C++, okay, so whatever example I am giving of C++, you can avoid if you don't know C++, okay. It is completely fine. It won't affect your Python language, but I am just giving some examples in this lecture, okay. In C language, this was a character A and this was a string, apple, right. Strings were denoted using double quotes and characters were denoted using single quotes. You cannot write ABC in C language because you can write only one character, right? But in Python, you don't have any notion of character and string. It is not different. You have only one notion of string. So even the single quote, this will be a string. So if you write in single quotes or in double quotes, it will be string only. So like this is also a string in Python in single quotes. You can write it in single quote, you can write it in double quote. Is it fine? Yeah, I'll upload the slides, the PDF on Unacademy app, and I'll let you know the links. Everything will be present in the sheet. You have to wait for 1 month. When we end the basic Python, I'll give you all the slides at once, right? It contains the entire PDF. But it will be for free, okay? Don't worry. The slides will be for free. So this is single quote, this is double quote, and then you can have triple quotes as well. Strings can be represented using triple quotes as well. This will also work, triple quote apple. But triple quote is generally used when you have to like show a string, when you have to write a string in multiple lines. So for example, this, when you have to write a string like this, apple, and then in the next line you have to write a banana, right? When you have to write apple, and then in the next line you have to write this is one of a string, apple, and then new line, and then banana. This is one of a string, and you can implement it using triple quotes. LE, I'll come to input output. I'll come to how to input and output in Python in the next lecture when we have demo. I'll first show you how to do input output, and then I'll implement these data types with you. Okay, there I'll answer this question of you. You have some special characters that are useful to do that. Don't worry about it. Okay, that thing works exactly like a C and C++ language. Cool. Fine. So we have like killer characters. Okay, they are called killer characters. We use them to print the single quotes. Okay, this is a valid doubt, I know, and I'll answer this. Cool. I hope this makes sense. A string can be represented using a single quote, double quote, triple quote. I hope you know the reason. The difference between them. Single quote and double quote doesn't have any difference. Triple quote generally is used for when you have multi-line strings. Vishwanath, actually nothing happens. You cannot define a string, multi-line string using double quotes. This will be a problem. A, P, P, L, E, and banana. This will not be taken. So if you want to write a string which contains a new line character as well, you use triple quotes. Triple quotes will say the interpreter that the string has not ended in this line, you have to wait for the other triple quote even in the next lines. This is why it is, I mean, like that. Cool. The next sequence is list. They are just like arrays in C and C++, and in Java. And the difference between arrays in C, C++, Java and list is, can you tell me the difference? What is the difference between an array in C++ and list in Python? Yeah, no, Vaishnavi, it can, but it is not necessary to close them in same line. Abhishek, we can use backslash n. I want to avoid the topic of backslash right now. This I will cover in an input output, right? So that is why I am not covering it right now. Cool. Backslash n is a character and it can be used. I mean, it will be considered as one character only, right? Yeah. So list can be unordered. No, I mean, this is incorrect. Om is saying that list can be unordered but not array. Is list unordered, guys? Heterogeneous, yeah. Heterogeneity and homogeneity will be the difference, right? Correct. I mean, Om, I hope you understand this thing. Lists are also ordered. I mean, it is written here, right? Lists are also ordered. Arrays are also ordered. Lists are also ordered. Vectors are ordered in C++. They are all ordered collection. Only the unordered collections are sets. And in C++, we even have like a different, like unordered set, right? Unordered map, unordered set. We write this explicitly. What we have in Python, we will see later, okay? Lists are also ordered collection of data, just like arrays in C, C++ and other languages. And it is very flexible. They do not need to be have of the same type. They are implemented using these square brackets. And yeah, this is a list, right? 1, 2, 3, apple, banana, 3.14, 9.10. This list contains integers, strings, and another list of floating point numbers. Same thing happens with tuples as well. Tuples, like, they are just like list, but now we will have the second difference, the second important term, mutability. Okay, I'll come to it. So just like list, tuple is also an ordered collection of Python objects. The only difference being the list, unlike list, tuples are immutable. Immutable. What is the meaning of this? Right. So immutability means tuples cannot be modified after they are created. Yeah, correct. I mean, yeah, this is for list, this is for tuple, this is fine. But the difference between a list and tuple will be, tuple will contain fixed type of data, right? The value inside a tuple cannot be changed. Can you tell me what is the equivalent of this in C++ language? What is the equivalent of a variable whose value cannot be changed in C++? Have you heard the keyword const in C++? Yeah, correct, Abhishek, right? So we have const there, and here we have tuples. Tuples like pointer, we don't have the concept of pointer here in Python. Why are you talking about pointer? Okay, we won't talk about pointer in entire Python. You don't have pointers. Forget about it. I mean, that's the best thing about this language, right? The most difficult topic you don't have. Right? Here the list cannot store pointer. We don't have pointer. We can store like different data types. So tuples are immutable. Once created, they cannot be expanded, shrinked, and their values cannot be changed. Right? What will happen with list is, so that is what I'm saying, Manisha, right? That is what I'm trying to say. Mutable is something which can be changed, right? For example, in a list, when you create a list like this, 1, 2, 3, its second value can be changed, and even its size can be reduced or expanded. You can add one more item here. You can delete some items. Everything can be done with a list, but with a tuple, nothing can be done. It is like something read only, right? You cannot increase its size, decrease its size. You cannot change its values. You can only read it. I hope it makes sense. Now do you know the meaning of? Now do you know the difference between mutable and immutable? I hope this is clear now, right? So you are asking the same question again, Vinay. You don't have pointers in Python, right? We won't speak about pointers right now, so don't worry about it. So they store values only, and actually they can store values or some other sequences. A list can store a value, or it can store another list or another tuple or another list of list, right? 5D array. So you can create anything. So now, can you tell me, I mean, after discussing the tuple and list, this is how you define an image. Okay, I'll tell you again. Okay, we lost that particular thing. Let me tell you here. Let's say this is how you define images. 100, 100, 100, 0, 0, 0, and yeah, this is your first row, and comma, second row will be like this. But I don't know what the values were. Let's say I guess 200 cross 0, 200, 0, 0, and 255, 255, 255. What is it? It is a list. It is a list containing two lists. It is a list containing two lists. This is your list 1. This is your list 2. Right? This is the comma for this square bracket. This is the comma for the square bracket. This is a list containing two lists. Both the lists contain two tuples. Right? Do you agree? Both the lists contain two tuples. Why did I implement the color using a tuple? Think about it. A color can have only three values, R, G, and B. A color can have only three values, R, G, and B. We don't need to increase or decrease its size, right? Color will be R, G, and B value, right? Redness, greenness, and blueness, what I told you before. So we don't need to increase or decrease its size, and also we don't need to change the color as well for now, right? I mean, in a color, you don't want to increase the redness or blueness, right? A color will be fixed for one particular pixel. If you want to change the color of a pixel, you can just overwrite it with some different tuple, right? The entire tuple can be changed. So this entire tuple can be removed. This entire tuple can be removed, and some other tuple can be put here. This entire tuple can be removed, can be replaced. Why? Because this tuple is a part of a list, and lists are mutable. But this value 100 cannot be removed. Does this thing make sense? This value 100 cannot be removed. This entire tuple can be removed because this tuple is a part of this list, but this element 100 is a part of a tuple. Tuples are immutable, but lists are mutable. This is an excellent example, right? Let me take a shorter example first. What I'm trying to say is, let's say we have a list of tuples containing two elements. These are like coordinates, right? Coordinates are represented using two values, x coordinate and y coordinate. So let's say I have three coordinates in a list. I can add more coordinates. I can add more tuples because this is a list. Lists are mutable. I can delete some tuples, I can add more tuples, I can do anything. But this value 2 cannot be deleted, or you cannot create this, make this tuple a tuple of size 3. This is not allowed. Tuples are immutable. Inception, right? Yeah, that's that's great. So okay, if you want to change the value, what will you do? If you want to change the value, what will you do? You will change this entire tuple, put a different tuple here, right? you'll say that, okay, for now, if you don't know indexing, it is fine. Let's say this list is present in variable A. You'll say that the first element of this list should not be 2 3, instead it should be 2 3 7. So what you're doing, you're replacing this tuple with this tuple. This is allowed. Correct. Okay, Vaishnavi, this is correct. You cannot remove 1 1, or you cannot add, remove 1 and add 3 4 to that particular tuple. What you can do is, you can change the entire tuple to some other tuple, because this tuple is present in a list. And also, this would not happen if you had a tuple of tuple. If you have something like this, here, since these tuples are present in tuple, nothing can be changed. Do you understand this? I hope this makes sense. Right? Now I also hope that mutability is clear. Right? Lists are mutable, they can be changed. Now write in the chat box if this thing is clear, right? And we will have a demo of this, okay? Next class, I want everybody to tell me correct outputs. I'll write various programs in front of you in Jupyter, and you will have to tell output to me without running, okay? You'll have to tell the output without running, and then we will run it. We'll create some, small code snippets, and I'll give you some assignments as well. You can play with some variables and so on, okay? So this is what mutability is, and yeah. And there is one trick here in tuple. A tuple can have 0 element. Tuple can have 0 element. Tuple can have multiple elements. But if you want to create a tuple with 1 element, you can write it with just writing this won't work. A tuple with 1 element cannot be created like this. There is just one thing, okay? In list, this is allowed. This is a list containing only 1 element. Okay, there is one difference. Okay, one minute point I am telling you. A list containing 1 element is allowed, but a tuple containing 1 element is not allowed. If you want to create a tuple containing 1 element, you have to add a comma. After comma, you don't write anything. That's fine. After comma, you don't write anything. That's fine. But you have to write this comma. Okay. So this we will see. Okay, we will try to see both these things. We'll try to see both these things. We'll try to create a tuple with only 1 element without using comma and so on, what the interpreter tells us, and something like that. These are some minute points. Okay. Then the next data type will be Boolean. Okay, I guess the time we already had 1 hour. Is there any problem with you guys? Can I extend the lecture to, like, let's say 30-40 minutes or 30 minutes? Okay, at max. Right? It is fine, right? Generally we have like 1 hour long lecture only, but I hope it will be fine. Let's finish this theory part, okay? So let's finish this boring part so that you don't have to read it again. Purple Queen, the class timings are 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at max. Right? I try to finish it at 10 p.m. but from now on I'll extend it to like 1.5 hour sessions or 2 45-minute sessions, okay? And this every alternate day. Cool. So the next session will be day after tomorrow, correct? So the next data type will be Boolean. Boolean data will have only 2 values, true or false. Okay, Boolean variable will have only 2 values. Boolean data will have only 2 values, true or false. It can be true, and this is how true is written in Python. Capital T R U E, capital F A L S E, right? True and false, and they are also called 1 and 0, right? So these are some of the data which can have only 2 values. Purple Queen, currently I have not fixed days, but very soon I will. So what we will do is, I'm just giving you a hint. Let's say on Sunday we will do something special, something new, apart from everything else. But we will divide Monday to Saturday for like data structures and Python sessions. Let's say, I'm just giving an example. I will clarify this thing in some session and in calendar and sheet. I'll try to maintain this homogeneity, that let's say for on Monday, Wednesday and Friday we have Python sessions, and then on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturdays we have data structure sessions. On Sunday we can do something else, I mean something other than that, right? We can have general talk of, let's say, 1 hour. We can discuss, I mean, gate things or CP stuff or something like that, okay? Just general talks on Sunday. This is what I'll do. I'll come up with a schedule. I'm working on it, right? Cool. Krishna, currently I'm not having any batch on Unacademy platform, but very soon I'll be having a career related batch on Unacademy as well. Okay, I'm joining Google right now, so I learned some things, and I'll create a batch for like what is needed in an industry, right? Let's say I can have a back end or front end batch as well. Okay, I'll also have a batch on Unacademy later. Cool. So this is about the Boolean type. So we will discuss this print statement in next class. But if you print 5 is greater than 6, so these type of statement will have a Boolean output, true or false, right? And okay, we will discuss about everything in detail, right? This is actually a comparator. It will print the output that is 5 greater than 6. So false will be printed. So output of these type of statements will be Boolean of Boolean type. And if you want to print type, okay, so there are two statements. Print prints the value, type prints the type. So if you write type 5, it will print numeric integer, right? It will print numeric integer. If you write print 5, the value 5 will be printed. Print statement prints the value, type statement prints the type. So if you want to see the data type of any object, what you do? You just write type and you pass the object and the type will be printed. So if you write type 5, numeric integer will be printed, and similarly if you write print 5 greater than 6, false will be printed because the output of 5 greater than 6 is false, right? This statement is false. And if you write type 5 greater than 6, Boolean will be printed. Okay, so I hope this makes sense. Okay, so the next data type is a set. Now set, what is a set? Now see the statement. I hope everything will be clear, okay, with the statement only. Set is an unordered collection. This is the first collection which we are seeing, which is unordered. It is a collection, right? It is a collection of data types that is iterable, mutable. Iterable, for now forget, okay? Those who have attended C++ lecture, they know what is iterable. For now, forget about iterable. Iterable is something in which we can iterate over the data type. Okay, we can print the values one by one sequentially. Okay, it is iterable. For now, forget about iterable. When we see loops, we will cover what iterators are. Okay, what iterable means. But just focus on the words unordered. Just focus on the word mutable. You can add or delete elements from a set, and has no duplicate elements. So if you remember again set theory from class 11th, set exactly that set is this set. The set which we learned in class 11 mathematics, also duplicates are not allowed. If you add duplicate elements, they will be ignored. Okay, you can add duplicate elements. We will see this thing while coding. You can add duplicate elements, but they will be ignored. Right? You won't get error, but duplicates are not allowed. Right? So if you have a set containing 1 and 2, you cannot add more and more ones. Right? The elements will be unique. And it is an unordered collection. So you add 1, 2 in this order or 1, 2 in any other order, it will be same. Unordered, mutable, all terms are clear now, right? I hope this makes sense. Fine. So now a set is a collection which is both unordered and unindexed. So now see, indexing means checking one particular element, right? I mean, we will see this thing later while coding, but indexing means checking the ith element of a list. For example, in a list we have indexing, right? Let's say this is a list 1, 2, 3. Python also has 0 indexing. So when I say first element, I mean this is 0th element, this is first element, this is second element, right? This is called indexing. And in sets, you don't have indexing. Sets are non-indexed because they are unordered, right? It doesn't make sense. You cannot say that this is the second element of set. Every element is second element of set, right? There is no order, right? Like by definition, there should not be any indexing, and this makes sense, right? List and tuples are ordered, and they are indexed, and they are iterable as well. Okay, they have everything. They are iterable, they are indexed, they are mutable, and no, sorry, tuple is not mutable. So maybe I'll give you a chart. Okay, in next class I'll try to prepare a chart which will clear all things, like list is what, mutable or not, ordered or not, and I mean it is iterable or not, and it can contain duplicate elements or not, it is indexed or not, right? So you can easily create it using these slides as well. Set is what? It is unordered, and it is unindexed, it is iterable, but yeah, and duplicates are also not allowed. Okay, this is what a set means. Rocky, I am joining Google in 2 days. Okay, my joining is on Monday. I am not working currently. Officially, currently I am doing nothing. Okay, my master's is over and I am not in any company. Cool. So yeah, set is a collection which is both unordered and unindexed. Unordered means that the items in a set do not have a defined order. This we have discussed. Set items can appear in different order every time you use them. I mean, there is no order. I mean, sets will not follow any order. They will get inserted in any order. Okay, I mean, they don't have any index or key. Yeah, I am excited. Yeah, I got a new laptop. I am excited. Cool. So sets are unchangeable, meaning that we cannot change the items after the set has been created. Also, yeah, I mean, this is not immutability. You can add elements. Now, okay, we got off topic a little bit. Now let's come back to the topic again. Immutability means adding elements not allowed, deleting elements not allowed, changing elements not allowed. Tuple is immutable. But in set, what will happen? Adding element allowed, deleting element allowed, but changing the value of any element not allowed. How can you change the value? You cannot index it. Think about it. In list, for example, in list, if you don't, for now, let's say you know about variables. This list is present in this variable a. I can say that a of 1 is equal to 3. I can say that a of 1 is equal to 3. What does it mean? Since it is 0 indexed, this is a of 0, this is a of 1, this is a of 2. This is a of 0, this is a of 1, this is a of 2. This value will become 3. Since lists are mutable, you can change the value. You can actually add the value, okay? We will see this thing, a dot append. We will have append a function which will append a value, right? So adding value, deleting value, changing value allowed. But to change the value, think about it, to change the value you want the index, right? You should have some pointer to that object. I should not use the word pointer, but I hope you understood this. If you want to change one particular location, you have to index it, right? You have to tell that change the first value, change the second value. In set, this is not defined. You don't have any second value. How will you say that change the fifth value to now 7? Fifth value is not fixed. So the unindexedness of a set makes this thing that you cannot change the values. What you can do is, since duplicates are not allowed, you can delete an element and then add another element. So let's say now the set is containing elements 1 and 2. Now instead of 2 you want 3. What will you do? You will delete 2 from the set. You will have a function of deletion. You will delete 2 from the set and then add 3 to the set. You will use 2 statements. I hope this makes sense. 2 will be deleted and then 3 will be added. This is like making 2 3, right? And do you know the reason why you cannot change the value? You don't have indices. How will you say that change the value of this location, right? When you want to change the value, you have to give the location. Change the fifth value of the list. Change the fourth value of a tuple. They are indexed. they are ordered. Since it is unordered, it is unindexed, and that is why you cannot change value. You can add it, you can delete it. But does it make it immutable? Is set immutable? Tell me this thing. Does it make it immutable, guys? I mean, what do you think? Set is immutable or not? No, right? It doesn't make it immutable. It is still mutable. Since you can add and remove values, right? In immutable, what will happen? You cannot add and delete element as well. The Kailash is asking one question, one beautiful question. If you don't know the index, how can you delete value? You say that delete this value. You don't say that delete this index. You don't say that delete second value. You say that delete the value 2 present in this set, wherever it is present. Since sets are iterable, since you can iterate over the sets, it will search one by one. Is this value 1? What will the interpreter do? It will search for the value 2. Let's search for the value 2. First value is not 2, second value is not 2, third value is 2. What will it do? It will delete it. You don't have indices. You don't have any order. 2 can be present anywhere. Interpreter doesn't know it right now. It will search for that element. You have find method. Find will what? It will say that this element is present or not. You have delete. You have insert. You have these functionalities, right? You can find element, you can delete element, you can add element, but you cannot change one element to another. You have to use two functions for it. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm not using the words pop and push right now. I hope add and delete makes sense, right? I want to give you a broader idea right now. Now everything is clear. List, tuple, set, mutable, immutable, order, unordered. I hope it is clear, okay? And when we code, it will be more clear. Fine. So this is set. We will see in the coding exercise. We will see how to declare sets. But now we have all the 3 brackets ready. Round brackets is for tuple, square bracket is for list, curly bracket is for set. Tuple, immutable, list, mutable, everything is allowed. Set, mutable, but values cannot be changed. Kailash, we can have, you can only create a function which can change the value of 3 to 5, just add 2 lines, delete 3, add 5. But this is how it will happen. You don't have a function which can do both things at once. It will be implemented using these 2 things. I hope this makes sense. Right, Kailash? Even if you are implementing it, you will write 2 statements, right? You don't have the functionality, right? You cannot say that I'm using these 3-4 functionalities and I created this one another functionality. Then this functionality which I created is a standard functionality of this data type. No, right? The basic operations which can be done are adding and deletion only, not changing, because changing requires two steps. Okay. Cool. And the most beautiful data type which you will use the most in CP, I cannot make such statement. The most used data type will be list only, right? List is basically array. So in CP, what happens? You have to take input as an array, so you will use list there. But yeah, dictionary will be very much useful. Okay, trust me. So again, square brackets for list, round brackets for tuples, curly braces for set and dictionary both. Curly brackets are used for dictionary also. Okay, we will see this thing. So dictionaries are used to store data values, but in dictionary what will happen? Values have a key and the objects in a dictionary are a pair. You have a key and a value associated with it. For example, this I have beautifully explained in my C++ lectures in map. Okay, what will happen, I mean, in Python series is, we are going to see each and every data type in detail, really detail. Okay, we are going to see each and every, I mean, implementation. In list, I will have one special lecture for list, right? That how can you index it, I mean, for 2D list, how can you slice it at one particular location and so on. That will be very useful in, I mean, later in machine learning, right? I saw some doubts on machine learning, right? I mean, NumPy or something. I will answer those doubts. I'm not answering them right now. But yeah, somebody asked this in chat box like 5 minutes back, that why do we have NumPy if we have lists? So actually NumPy is a library which makes lists more efficient, especially 2D and 3D lists. I have answers, but I'm not giving you right now. Yeah, Sai Lakshman is asking, how do we perform the set operation? Do we have functions? We have functions. We are going to see functions in specialized lectures for list, dictionary and so on. Yeah, it will be mutable. It will be mutable. Manisha, definitely it will be mutable, because you will add more and more key value pairs. And for any different key, you can change the value as well. It is mutable, okay? So, yeah, here it is mentioned. Dictionary is ordered. It is changeable. Changeable means mutable. And no duplicates allowed. When we say duplicates, key cannot be duplicated. Okay, so when I say key value, what do I mean? For a list, the index is what? For example, this is a list. Lists have a predefined lists have a, so I'm coming to this. Tarun, I'm coming to this, where dictionaries are used. Just wait for a minute. In a list, what is an index? Think about it. I told you that lists and tuples are zero index, right? Do you remember this thing? So this will be 0th element of a list, first element of a list, second element of list, third element of list, and fourth element of list, right? Elements are identified using a predefined numbering. You cannot edit this numbering. Think about it. For example, if you delete this element, 5 will become third element. If you delete element 4, 5 will become third element. But you cannot change the ordering, right? The ordering and the numbering, the indexing, this is called index. Do you agree that index is predefined in list and tuple? You cannot change it, right? So there is a mapping that if this is present in this variable a, then a of 2 is 3. But you cannot, like, I mean, yeah. But in dictionary, this index, think about it. I mean, in dictionary, what will happen? In dictionary, what will happen? This index you can define. You can say that the 57th value should be 5. Even though I don't have 57 values. I am saying that the value 5 is mapped to the number 57. You are doing some mapping. For example, if you want to like efficiently calculate the roll number of everybody in the class, that you want to create a software which can return the roll number of any guy in the class really fast. For example, let's say I am saying that roll number of, let's say, Vaishnavi. Roll number of Vaishnavi is 3, is let's say 37. This is what is possible using dictionary. Now see, the value 37 is mapped to the name Vaishnavi, to a string. So the index now becomes a string. Now index can be anything. Index can be a list. Index can be a list of list. You can map a number to image. What will happen if you're mapping numbers to images? This image will have this number, this image will have this number, and so on. You don't have to define this order. This is not predefined. You are defining the order now. You are defining the index now. Do you understand this thing? This roll number example is best, right? Otherwise, how will you do this? Let's say I am telling you, you have to really fastly calculate the roll number of every guy. So the one particular idea could be doing this. You store them in lists. that the roll number of Vaishnavi is 37. You're storing them in list of lists. This is a bad way. I'm telling you why. And let's say the roll number of Abhishek is 43, and let's say the roll number of Manisha is 22. You created a data like this. Now I am asking you one thing. What is the roll number of Kailash? What will you do? You will search. You will search the first, you will see the first list. Is its first value Kailash? No, you will go forward. Is the first value of second list Kailash? No, you will go to the third value and so on. This is the only way you have, right? It will take too much time to find roll number of any guy. Think about it. You have to go to each and every element and check that the name matches or not. Makes sense? But what do you want? You want to fastly calculate the roll number. What will you do? You will create a dictionary. And in dictionary you are saying that the roll number of Vaishnavi becomes 37. So basically you are saying that 37 value is mapped to Vaishnavi, and 43 value is mapped to Abhishek, and 22 value is mapped to Manisha. And Kailash is saying that his roll number is 10, but we don't have Kailash in the dictionary right now. Let's say this is our dictionary. Now you ask this dictionary what is the roll number of Kailash, and dictionary will say you don't have a key named Kailash. Key not found. This is called key. This is called value. This is called key. This is called value. What does it mean? Dictionary will immediately tell you that you don't have this key. Searching a particular key will be constant time. Okay, if you know what constant time means, I'm using this term right now. It is very vague. Let's assume that you are all beginners. Then forget about constant time. Searching a key will be really fast. If you want to, if you ask this dictionary, what is the roll number of Abhishek? It will immediately say that the roll number of Abhishek is 43. This is what a dictionary does. Does this make sense now? You are mapping any data type to any data type. Is this clear? Why do we use dictionaries? For example, here see this. We have a dictionary, MyDict. First name is Brad, second name is, last name is Pitt, year is 1989. You can actually print the entire dictionary, everything will be printed. You can print the first name of my dictionary and the first name will be printed. You can actually print the year and year will be printed. And this cool data type is actually a map. This cool data type is actually a map in C++ STL. This is called a map. You are mapping different data types together, okay? But the beautiful thing here is, this first thing need not be a string, it can be a list as well. So let's say you are mapping a list to a list. That list 1, 2 is, list 3, 4 is mapped to the list 1, 2. So the value of 1, 2 will be 3, 4 and so on. You can do anything. In Python, everything is managed so really fast, right? So why do you want STL now? You have map, set, everything which we learned in STL there, I just told you in one lecture here, think about it, right? And the implementation is different thing, we will have separate sessions for it, but this session was dedicated to, just to let you know what the data types are. Cool. So let's continue in the next session. I guess the time is like, let's not, I'm also tired. So let's continue in the next session. I'll continue with this tokens thing, okay? What tokens are, what literals, keywords, identifier, operators are. The theory part will not be too much, and then we will have practical session as well. Is it fine? I hope you enjoyed the data types in Python, and we will implement it. You'll enjoy it more, and you'll have assignments as well. So let's meet in class, which is day after tomorrow, which is Sunday. Okay, so on Sunday we have a lecture at 9 p.m. for Python for now, and then slowly in 1-2 sessions we will have this schedule clear, that in these alternate days we will have session and so on. Cool. So we will see these keywords, operators, everything, and yeah. So guys, we have 47 people watching. The likes should be going up. If you like the lecture, I mean, I'm delivering a lecture for 1 hour. You can just like it, right? If you really loved it. So like and share the video if you liked it. And again, I mean, the ultimate goal is that knowledge should be spread to everyone. Your competition is not your friends. Remember this thing always. I mean, this thinking will never get you anywhere. Just trust me, okay? And then subscribe to the channel. I mean, I hope you have already had. And very good night. We'll meet day after tomorrow in Python session. Thank you.